2025 is going to be an absolute shit show unless companies figure out how to reignite go-to-market efficiency. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a massive decline in go-to-market efficiency across the SaaS landscape. I've had a front row seat for this in two ways. Firstly, through monitoring the 35 odd public SaaS companies that we track every quarter. So we review the financials. If you're watching this video, you've probably seen one of those breakdowns, right? We look at things like CAC payback, magic number, growth rates, net revenue retention rates, that kind of thing. On top of that, over the last 12 months, I've been working side by side with about 25 different SaaS organizations, helping them to build an outbound go-to-market motion, whether through our SDR as a service offering or in a consulting or advisory capacity. What we've seen through these two very different lenses, but both kind of aimed at the same target, is that it's much harder for companies to turn go-to-market spend and activities through the sales and marketing team into net new ARR in a way that makes sense from a go-to-market efficiency standpoint. So let's look at some data here to back this up. If we go back to Q3 of 2021, the median CAC payback for the public SaaS companies that we track was 20.3 months. If we fast forward to Q3 of 2024, we can see that that's ballooned out to 29.5 months. Think about that, right? Half of the public SaaS companies that we track have CAC payback periods in excess of 30 months. That's an almost 50% increase over the last 12 quarters. Now, if you're going to make this work, you either need to have a ton of cash in the bank so that you can put up with these long payback periods, or you better have really high net revenue retention so that those initial contract values are increasing year after year, right? Ultimately, what that does is it brings the true CAC payback number down. That's obviously from a public company standpoint. But if we switch our focus to the private markets, the picture isn't a lot better. According to OpenView Partners, the median CAC payback period for SaaS companies came in at 11 months back in 2020. In their most recent report in 2023, that had increased to 22 months, right? So 100% increase over the last 3 years. What's the flow-on effect of this? Lower growth rates and ultimately lower valuations for SaaS businesses. Median growth rates for the public SaaS companies that we track has decreased from 51% down to 22% over the last 12 quarters. For private companies, it's gone from 44% down to 23%. And as we know from metrics like the rule of X, a slower growth rate ultimately means lower valuations. 12 quarters ago, the enterprise value to ARR multiple for the public SaaS companies that we track was 30 times. In Q3 of this year, that's down to just 8.8 times. The reason that I'm sharing this data is to simply illustrate that the world has changed. It's much harder for SaaS companies to grow revenue than it has been in recent history. I think a good way to visualize this is with this chart. Basically, what we're looking at here is the distribution of performance outcomes from go-to-market motions, right? And the way that we conceptualize this is that if you go back, 12, 16 quarters ago, most of the things that companies were running were working, right? We were able to generate good rates of go-to-market efficiency. Most of what we tried worked, and we were able to grow ARR. As we're moving into this newer reality, less of what we're doing is working, which is pushing up CAC payback periods, reducing growth rates. So why am I telling you all of this? The reason for that is that we're going to spend 2025 doing our part to try to solve this problem. We'll be sharing a ton in public this year. The wins, the losses, the experiments that we're running both internally from our own go-to-market motions and also for clients that we're working with. And so the structure of the content that I share is going to change slightly. I'll still be doing the quarterly report breakdowns that a lot of you like. So that is where I take a company has just released a 10Q and I'll break down those numbers for you, right? What is the CAC payback period? What are the net revenue retention rates? What's the magic number, right? What are the growth rates? We'll still do a bunch of that content, frankly, because it's interesting to me and I know that a lot of you enjoy that stuff. But the rest of the content that we share is going to be very focused on go-to-market strategies and trying to solve the problem of how do we generate ARR growth in a way that makes sense from a go-to-market efficiency standpoint. And this won't just be interviews with talking heads or consultants or people that have done it before, right? This is going to be in the weeds, looking at experiments that we're running, looking at the results of those experiments, and then reporting that data back to you guys so that you get those insights as well. So if you like the sound of that, please follow along. It'll mean a lot to me. The direction that we're heading will become a lot clearer to all of you as we start to roll some of this content out over the next couple of weeks. And if you're watching this and you don't follow or you're not subscribed yet, please do so. It means a lot to me. I enjoy making this content, but it'd be nice to know that others are getting value from it as well. So stay posted. We'll be releasing our first go-to-market focused video in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. And until then, goodbye.